In its heyday, which was relatively brief, the Indian news magazine Tehelka specialized in exposés, reporting corruption, investigating scandals, uncovering cover-ups. In Hindi, the magazine's name means sensational, a commotion, an event that shakes things up. However, 3 months ago, Tehelka itself was shaken by a news story. Allegations that founding editor Tarun Tejpal had raped a junior employee led to his arrest and a string of resignations at the magazine. Ever since the scandal broke, the bad press has been unrelenting. Tehelka's credibility has been shredded, and the magazine's brand and its staff have been doing their best to stay afloat. The Indian media industry, better known for quantity than quality, can ill afford to lose a pioneering publication like this one. The Listening Post's Meenakshi Ravi now on Tarun Tejpal and Tehelka.
For a magazine known for blowing open the doors of government secrecy and lifting the lid on corporate concealment, Tehelka's offices in New Delhi are in lockdown these days. Nobody wants to talk about how the magazine is doing. It's been 3 months since the magazine's frontman Tarun Tejpal stepped down from his post as editor to fight allegations of sexual assault. In a country where rape has been such a big story, the Tejpal case threw the magazine into a tailspin. The crusading newsman heading for court and his deputy, an articulate, prominent face on the media scene, resigning.
I understand that Tarun's letter to me sounds like an act of vanity.
After she was accused of downplaying the seriousness of the charges and mismanaging the situation.
His deputy resigned and several other top journalists also resigned, and its credibility at rock bottom. I'd be really surprised if they can swim against all this tide. So I think probably the impending demise of Tehelka is sometime going to come very soon. But that would be quite a sad moment for Indian publishing.
To what extent will Tehelka survive the case against its founder editor, Tarun Tejpal? It's a tough question, but my sense is that already the way in which the magazine handled this problem has created a huge crisis of confidence and crisis of credibility.
Tehelka broke into the Indian news consciousness in the year of its launch in 2000 with a sting operation using undercover filming that exposed systemic corruption in the country's favorite sport, cricket. For the 3 cricketers from the national team, including the captain, found guilty of match fixing, Tehelka's story was a career ender.
Now I need your favor.
It was another hidden camera operation revealing bribery, the Indian Defence Ministry and the arms trade. The president of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, that was leading the government at the time, resigned as well. Tehelka wasn't just claiming scalps, it was breaking new ground in Indian journalism, and other news outlets, in a period of explosive growth in Indian media, copied the secret camera tactics in their investigations. But those days are gone, and when we tried to reach the new executive editor for comment on Tehelka's future, he said he was not authorized to speak publicly. With Tejpal in jail awaiting trial and everything at the magazine, from finances to editorial policy under scrutiny, Tehelka's team seems focused for the moment on just keeping the publication afloat and keeping questions from the media at bay. The magazine's first issue this year was one part self-reflection, one part self-critique, one part self-praise, and one part a plea for survival.
The first issue of 2014 on the idea of Tehelka has a number of people who point out that the institution of Tehelka is bigger than its founder, who's currently behind bars. There are enough people who are sincere, who are dedicated, who are still associated with the magazine.
When it started off as a website, it had idealistic goals. It was an alternate view of things, of what is happening. They covered stories which nobody else would touch. And I think that they went through a lot of struggles trying to survive and raise funds, because if you're writing stories against the government, that government is not going to give you advertising. Then the corporates, if you're doing stories against the corporates, why would they place ads in your magazine? So you're then doing a subversive product, which is asking the same people who you're being subversive to, against, to place money on you.
A few years before the sexual assault scandal broke, Tehelka's financial realities began to erode the magazine's anti-establishment credentials. In 2011, Tarun Tejpal launched ThinkFest, an annual event bringing together the best and brightest from India and around the world to discuss new ideas. The event was sponsored by a slew of big businesses, including steel, infrastructure, and government-owned companies. It roused suspicions that Tehelka was turning its back on its muckraking reputation and was going corporate.
This whole episode of setting up a so-called ThinkFest in a fancy hotel in Goa, you call important people and you debate and you discuss quote-unquote ideas, and in the evening we will booze and have a good time. And in the same way, who are your sponsors? Your sponsors are some companies who don't exactly have such a great reputation. They include mining companies, include power companies. It tarnishes the reputation of the entire organization.
It speaks of a perennial problem in the Indian media, which is that in order to survive here, editors and publishers feel that they have to do X, Y, Z things. They make compromises. It's unfortunate that a magazine that set out to change things ultimately succumbed to some of those very practices, as the bigger, more explicitly or openly corporatized media houses did.
Please welcome Tarun Tejpal. And the Goa conference happens to be the scene of Tejpal's alleged crime.
The Goa police has booked him for rape and is all set to summon him over the allegations soon.
It was at the ThinkFest conference this past November where the assaults he is accused of took place. Tehelka faces a struggle to do more than just survive. It has a credibility problem that could last much longer than the Tejpal case. And all of this comes at a time when the Indian electorate needs as much quality journalism as they can get. This is an election year.
The fact is that India is the world's largest democracy. And in politics, there is sort of a pushback from the people. And I hope in media also, and not just in media, probably in many institutions in the country, there is scope for such a reformist movement.
Unfortunately, what happened to Tarun Tejpal has rubbed off on the media. So we have a very, very paradoxical situation. A journalistic institution which stands for all that is good and positive about the fourth estate. When its own founder is accused of sexual harassment, when its own editorial leaders are accusing of pandering to the rich and the powerful, that creates a huge crisis of confidence.